Hey guys, good morning. I'm going to be reading today from the second part of chapter 24 in Red Kayak. Thank you to Priscilla Cummings for allowing us to read this book and read these chapters to you online while we're dealing with the quarantine. Now, at the beginning part of chapter 24, Brady and his family got an attorney, and one of the last things that they were told was that JT and Digger could potentially be facing one of two things, either second degree murder or something called manslaughter. We also found out that Brady maybe won't get in any trouble because all he did was mention the crime. He didn't actually participate in it. So we're going to see what happens now because Brady and his family are going to be heading to the police station. From there, we went to the police station where I was told to step into a small, stark room that had nothing but a table, a couple of chairs, and a computer in it. Dad, Mom, Mr. Anderson, a policewoman, and one detective came in after me, and once again I told my story. I was getting worn down by telling it over and over, but I plodded through it. The detective prodding me with questions. When did you find the drill? What did your friend Digger say when you confronted him? Who was the other boy? The policewoman sucked on a butterscotch lifesaver. I could smell it, and typed everything I said into the computer. Neither she nor the detective showed much emotion. It was just a job to them, I guess. Get the kid's confession and move on to the next thing. When we were done, the policewoman made a printout and we read it over. It appeared to be everything that I had said. You need to sign off on it then, the detective said. He pointed with his stubby finger. Your name goes here. Go ahead, Brady, Mr. Anderson told me, offering me his pen. Your full name. I looked at the space they'd left for my signature and took his pen. Braden Duval Parks, I wrote, feeling every loop and turn of the letters and wishing somehow that I could detach myself from my name. The detective took the paper, and he and the policewoman left. Mr. Anderson stayed and sat on the edge of the desk to warn us that a story would undoubtedly appear in the newspaper. There's going to be a lot of press, some big headlines. Sitting in the metal chair in front of him, I kept my hands folded and my head tilted down. It was bad enough already, but to think everybody in the community would know everything made it worse. My parents would be embarrassed. All the kids at school would be shocked. How could I ever face them again? My stomach started to knot up, even though I knew this was the deal. Police officers are going to go eat to each of your friends' homes now, Mr. Anderson went on. They're going to ask the boys to come down to the station to talk. They'll read them their Miranda rights, let them know that they have a right to remain silent and get a lawyer. And then they're going to tell them that we have the kayak, that we know what happened because you came forward. He waited a second and I nodded my understanding. When they set a date for the trial, Brady, you'll be subpoenaed to appear in court as a witness. I lifted my head and shot him a frightened look. Yeah, I'm afraid so, Mr. Anderson confirmed. You're going to need to get up in front of them and repeat everything that you just told us. I closed my eyes. It felt like someone was squeezing my chest. You got to be strong, Brady, Mr. Anderson said. He continued to explain the legal scenario. Another officer will visit the D'Angelos and tell them what's going on. I sucked in my breath, unable to even imagine that. Poor Mrs. D'Angelo, I thought. She would have to relive it all over again. Only now she would know that I was behind it, that my very own friends sank the kayak and killed Ben. Maybe she would even think that I was a murderer. There was a pause when no one said anything. Mr. Anderson clicked his pen shut. Well, you're free to go home now, he said quietly. I need to take care of some paperwork with the state's attorney's office. He turned to my parents. I'll need one of you to sign off on a couple of things. Mom offered to go with him. I suspected there were some questions she wanted to ask about him, some things out of my earshot. When they opened the door to leave, we could hear telephones ringing and people talking in the outer office. Soon, I thought, the whole world would know. The door closed again and silence engulfed the small cinder block room. When I looked up, I saw it was just me in the chair and Dad standing in the door waiting. God, it was hard to get up out of that chair. I felt like I had 100-pound weights strapped to my feet. When I did move, finally, I just stood there feeling numb and very, very heavy and completely lost. And then Dad came over. We looked at each other and said, "You done the right thing today, Brady." I could have broke down and cried, but I pressed my lips together instead. And then Dad put his arm around my shoulders and we walked out together. Guys, that's the end of chapter 25. It was a very short part today. I'd like you to answer the question that I put into Google Classroom. Make sure you answer it to the best of your ability. Do all your other homework for your teachers. Make sure you subscribe to these two channels up here as well. And we'll talk to you soon.